to a very special edition of Couch Potato Diary. It's a Fights in Football Friday, and it's awards time. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. If you're looking for football on the Fights in Football Friday, that's over on part 1. This is part 2, and it's all about awards. It is the best and worst of professional wrestling, plus the best of MMA and boxing. If you like what you see here, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if you're listening in podcast form, remember to rate, review, or subscribe, and subscribe wherever you can. Find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm at Primetime Klein, twitch.tv/primetimepk. All right, without any further ado, it is award season, so let's get into it. The best and worst in professional wrestling. All right, let's start with you know what? Let's start negative and work positive. I think a lot of years, the worst of would be kind of the main event of any pro wrestling discussion for a year-end standpoint. But this was a really good year in professional wrestling. And it feels like we're in a really good spot right now in the world of pro wrestling. So honestly, there were some years where you struggled to come up with a best of. I was struggling to come up with some worst of this year. So let's get right into it. Let's go with the worst of male wrestler. To me, it is Satnam Singh. It came in with a big debut a little bit ago, and it's just anytime he's in the ring, it looks labored and unfun. It's a weird mix with him and Sanjay Dutt and Jeff Jarrett. So I'm just not a fan of Satnam Singh, so he is my worst wrestler on the male side. On the female side, it's Nia Jax. No one was excited or clamoring for her to come back, and immediately there's people getting banged up in spots that she is involved in, and so, and it just like the hurting people thing, like that sucks. That it really, really does suck. But one of the things that's really frustrated me is the promos feel so fake. And just so, like, sing-songy almost. Like, I can tell she's reciting it. So, not a fan. Nia Jax, the worst female wrestler of 2023. Worst tag team, it comes in at the end, and it's DIY. People were excited about DIY coming in, but it kind of feels like it just stopped a bit of momentum that Ciampa was having, and you see him now, and it's not the same as it was before. It feels like this is, like, it's maybe time to move on from these guys. There's much more exciting things happening right now in the WWE Tag Team division. So this pains me because I like these guys a lot when they were in NXT, but I'm not there when it comes to DIY on the main roster. Worst debut of 2023. This one, it might be a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to say Gable Steveson. He has his first match against Baron Corbin. He gets booed basically the whole time and then hasn't been back since, really. And they've said there's a scheduling issue right now that has him not able to compete. But it has been... There was a lot of hype around Gable Steveson, and it just feels like he hasn't picked it up, or whatever the issue is. It's not clicking right now with the WWE universe. So I'm out on Gable Steveson. That was the worst debut of the season. Most disappointing for 2023, I'm going to go CM Punk. There was just so much excitement about CM Punk when he first debuted, and then everything happens at All In, and leading up to it as well. And I get, like, people are stoked to have him back in WWE after the Survivor Series and stuff like that. But I just, like, to me, it feels, again, fake, right? Like, and talk about pro wrestling, but it's like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. Him talking about how he's home in WWE, like, get the fuck out of here. There isn't nearly as much to be excited about CM Punk in WWE as there is for him in AEW and New Japan and stuff like that. So it's just, okay, cool, he's sticking around, but I'm not excited for Phil Brooks, CM Punk, to be around in our lives for 2024. Worst promo of the year, I'm going maybe a bit controversial. I'm going Seth Rollins. I don't find any of his deliveries believable. I never really have. He has gotten away from that stuff, but that was annoying. And anytime he's in like a blood feud with someone, it's so overacted and everything that it kind of takes me out of it. One of the best wrestlers in the world, no doubt, but the rest of it, Not really a fan. That makes Seth Rollins the worst promo of 2023. Worst match of the year. I'm going to Night of Champions, and it's Rhea Ripley against Natalya. Say what you want about Natalya. She did not deserve to, like, if you're going to fly her over to Saudi Arabia to do a show, she needs more than a minute of wrestling. That one felt more, and I get, like, at the time, and still, Rhea Ripley is several rungs above Natalya in the WWE Women's Division pecking order, right? But and so when you see those two of their own their stature in the division, it makes sense that it's a 1 minute squash match. But that is more a knock on the creative leading in than a knock on Natalya. Like it felt like, oh fuck, we need to put Rhea out there. Natalya, sure, you're fine traveling to Saudi Arabia, right? Okay, let's do that. It felt almost disrespectful and dismissive of someone who has given so much to the WWE, and I thought deserved so much more than what she got there. So that is the reason why I went with that match. Worst event of the year, I'm going to say All Out for AEW, and it's not like the show, like it ends with Moxley against Orange Cassidy, which was phenomenal. There were some good matches on this show. Overall, this was a really good year for professional wrestling. So there wasn't really an, oh my God, can you imagine that? But it is coming immediately after All Out, like the week after All In was All Out, and you're having to shell out $50 for both shows. And it was not a full AEW caliber pay-per-view event. It was a really good episode of Dynamite, basically, is what this one felt like. And so that's what gets it worst event of the year for me. The worst story of 2023, Cody's story continues. The lead up to WrestleMania was phenomenal. But Cody's year post-WrestleMania has been it's kind of filler. You know he's going to get the advantage eventually over Brock. You know he's not going to lose to Dominic Mysterio. Now you know he's not going to lose to Shinsuke Nakamura. Like it's just felt like a full year of filler to get back to a WrestleMania moment they may not even get now. So I have found this to be really frustrating. And look, credit Cody because he has still been entertaining every week, and I've still been captivated by this character. But the overall story, I think one thing we forget sometimes as wrestling fans, and I think WWE has kind of fallen into it a little bit, you can have title changes outside of WrestleMania. You can have big moments outside of WrestleMania. Not every title reign needs to culminate at Mania. We can have a title change at Payback, right? Like you're allowed to do that. And I think they've kind of fallen into a bit of a routine with some of these, like, oh, we need the biggest moment at WrestleMania. Like, yes, you do. You can also have big moments at Elimination Chamber, and that may end up being where Cody wins the title. I do think you have to deliver on that at some point here, because there is going to be a time where people just kind of roll their eyes with Cody like they did in AEW. You have something hot here right now, and it's like you could have done everything with the Bloodline this year. You could have done that with Roman Reigns not having the championship and had this full year of Cody as the World Heavyweight Champion doing basically the same thing. You could even have Rock and Roman at WrestleMania and it would still feel the same without Roman being the champion right now. So it just, that to me felt very blah. Worst gimmick of the year, I'm going to say The Righteous. Now, it's not a new one. They are more a Ring of Honor tag team than AEW, but I need a break from, oh, these guys are dark and psychotic and maybe a little mysterious. Like the Judgment Day, that they are a dark group, but it's not like it's how they dress, but it's not a main part of their personality. The whole crazy, and I'm tilting my head to the camera to show you how crazy I am. Isn't that crazy? And oh, I might even do a maniacal laugh. Isn't that so terrifying? I'm so fucking over all of that. And so I'm not. Anytime The Righteous come on the TV, it's a groan for me right now. I'm out of it. The worst story of the year, this is obvious. It was Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk passing away within a week, within the same couple of days. That was truly heartbreaking and just brought the entire wrestling world to its knees for a few days. And it was just, even still, doesn't, more specific to Bray than Terry Funk, with all due respect, it still doesn't feel totally real to us wrestling fans. So This is a show a little bit about levity, but this was so clearly the worst of the year that I felt it needed a bit of acknowledging here. Worst moment of the year, I'm going to say Jack Perry saying, "Oh, look at this, real glass," which leads to a giant blow up, which leads to our most disappointing wrestler of the year in CM Punk. It's just a kid being stupid. To suggest, like, it's so weird how we've gone from, man, isn't it stupid Brock Lesnar used real glass, to, man, isn't it stupid Jack Perry, or they wouldn't let Jack Perry use real glass. Like, this is still wrestling. We're still allowed to be fake with this stuff, right? So it was a kid being a kid in the worst possible time that led to a giant thing, that led to really the changing of the path of a couple of companies going forward. So that, I think, makes it, how everything played out afterward, that makes it the worst of the year for 2023. Worst promotion of the year, I have a tie. Ring of Honor gets it for me on the worst of side. It is such an irrelevant brand right now. And there's some of their titles on AEW, but like MJF and Adam Cole being their tag team champions, like, nothing felt more like, oh, this title is just a prop than Ring of Honor, and that has kind of felt like it all year long. The one time Ring of Honor felt like a big deal was when Eddie Kingston won the ROH title back at Grand Slam, but overall, this has been a really down year for AEW, and, like, it just, they need to figure it out, or just kind of let it die, in my opinion, because this is not doing the AEW, or the Ring of Honor brand any good, having it just be, the main event or superstars of AEW. We're tied with that is All Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan is going through a bit of a transition time right now, but still, New Japan is so clearly number one, and they had a few good moments this year, and as we talked about before, had a pretty good Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom review is available wherever you're consuming this right now. You have, also out in Japan, Stardom, which had, I would say, a strong year again here in 2023. Some injury issues, but Stardom had a pretty good year. Pro Wrestling Noah, well, they had the big crossover thing with New Japan, and Kaito Kiyomiya is in the G1, and he's at Wrestle Kingdom, and you have New Japan stars showing up on Pro Wrestling Noah shows. I didn't hear a fucking thing out of All Japan all year long, and they have a history that I truly respect, and at one point they were the dominant company in professional wrestling in Japan, and now they feel like such an afterthought, and so I hope that changes here in 2024. Worst show of the year, Collision. They lost in the ratings at points to Rampage. It just hasn't really clicked, and I know a lot of that was because CM Punk left, but it feels like they've had some amazing matches on there, and I went to a Collision out here in Calgary this year, and saw one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life, but it just hasn't clicked. So Collision is the worst show for 2023. That leads us now to our best of for 2023. We will start with male wrestler, and to me it was MJF. Some of the best promos of the year, some of the best matches of the year, all of it together, building up to a great 2023 for MJF. He is the winner. My female wrestler of the year, there wasn't really a huge standout. I went Mayu Iwatani. She ends up winning the IWGP Women's Championship. She had some amazing matches throughout the year, and every match she is in becomes must watch. So Mayu Iwatani gets the win for me. Tag Team of the Year, FTR. They were in, like, the tag team match of all time, that 2 out of 3 falls match in Calgary against Bullet Club Gold, and all year long had some real good shows. The debut of the year, it's Mr. Disappointment. It's CM Punk at Survivor Series. Nothing else comes close. Adam Copeland in AEW was fun, but no, CM Punk coming back to the WWE in Chicago, and all the drama that it caused on the internet for a little bit, certainly deserves the nod for the best debut. Our breakthrough performer of the year is quite obviously LA Knight. Yeah. Whenever you get old wrestler shit talking you, you know you've broken through. And he feels like what his catchphrase is, the megastar. It does admittedly feel like it's cooled off a little bit here. With now Roman coming in, CM Punk coming in, there's been a lot of big personalities that have kind of pushed him aside. I think LA Knight still gets a prominent feature at WrestleMania, but we'll see what ends up coming. of LA Knight here in 2024, but it does feel like he's starting to be pushed to the back burner just a touch. The best promo of the year is still MJF. How he was able to work, like to go from being the scumbag babyface to the scumbag heel and all of those things, and a lot of the notes in the Adam Cole best friend story throughout the year just hit perfectly because of MJF's promo abilities, so he gets the nod as promo of the year. Match of the year. I saw a lot of people copping out and saying, oh, it's Ospreay and Omega from Wrestle Kingdom and from Forbidden Door. No, you have to choose one. You can't cop out on this. It has to be one, and there is only one. It's Wrestle Kingdom. That was one of the great matches you will ever see in your life. Forbidden Door was awesome. It really was. 5 stars. No notes. All of that. Well, one note. Don't have a move that looks like it kills someone, right? Like, legitimately killed someone. And that was the Tiger Driver spot. So that bumped it down back behind the Wrestle Kingdom match for me. So Ospreay Omega 1 gets our match of the year. The best event of 2023, I'm going to go to Backlash in Puerto Rico. That crowd was electric. And Bad Bunny comes out, Carlito makes an appearance. That whole show was just such an amazing event. And I think really kicked off the post-WrestleMania year in style for WWE. And you can see now that they're building off of that here in 2024 with a trip to France coming. I believe it's France coming up there. So this is I think something the WWE can really build on here is going to a lot of untapped markets. And I think Puerto Rico needs to be tapped more, to be perfectly honest. That crowd was unbelievable and probably the crowd of the year. Story of the year, it has to be the Bloodline. Probably with the culmination at WrestleMania. After that, it's been okay. Actually, there's been a few good spots. We'll say culminating at SummerSlam. Jey Uso with his shot at Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship or whatever it's called. When Jimmy pulled him out and it was just like, ugh, why? Like that probably killed it there. But it's still like, I'm still intrigued by it now with like Roman and The Rock, Jimmy and Jay. I thought Solo would be a little bit further along by now, to be perfectly honest with you, but I think that there's still a lot of good coming out of that. There's obviously there's been a few this year, right? Like the Judgment Day's build has been a whole lot of fun. The best friend angle with MJF and Adam Cole has been really, really good as well. I even liked, I'm pretty sure this was 2023, Club Venus breaking away from Cosmic Angels in Stardom and leading to the Shirakawa against Tom Nakano match. I thought that was some really great stuff. Tom Nakano has been in a few really great things the last couple of years. I thought her rivalry leading to her teaming with Natsupoi was so much fun. And now her feud with Mina Shirakawa was a blast as well out in Stardom. But the main story of the year is the Bloodline. Gimmick of the year, it has to be Toni Storm. This new character is brilliant, and it feels like they add something new every week, and it makes it all the more fun. And then her calling out Wendy Richter this week was last week, I guess, was beautiful. So Toni Storm with this new character could have been absolute dog shit, and she has made it perfection. Best story of the year for the world of professional wrestling, AEW at Wembley. To have the number 2 company in the world have the number 1 gate in the world is really something. And it was unfortunate. All the talk after that was about CM Punk, because that should have been basically like a 6-month victory lap for AEW to celebrate coming off of that. But it was not meant to be. Moment of the year, Sami Zayn turns on Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. That chair shot and everyone's reaction after, and the build-up leading to honorable mention to Sami Zayn's entrance at Elimination Chamber and coming so close to winning the championship there. That for me was the moment of the year. Promotion of the year, it's the WWE. They are the big dog, and they had a big year, so they get it. And show of the year was SmackDown. That was predominantly where a lot of the Bloodline story took place. It's moving networks coming up in 2024, but to me that was the show of the year. So those are your pro wrestling awards for 2023. But now it is time to move into the world of face punching as we do the awards. cut myself off there. The awards for for MMA and boxing. We will start with male fighter of the year. In boxing, it was Naoya Inoue. Again, the monster was just masterful all year long. Even though his fights are happening at 2 a.m. out in Japan, it was a year where he started as the pound for pound number one, fought, I believe, 4 times, won some more titles, and ended the year as pound for pound number one. That makes you fighter of the year in my book. Fighter of the year in MMA was Islam Makhachev. There are guys who fought more, but Islam Makhachev's 2 fights in 2023 were both against the pound for pound number one or number two in the sport. You win both of those, you get locked in as the number one fighter of the year. So that's where Islam Makhachev gets it for me. Female boxer of the year, Amanda Serrano. Taylor lost 1 bout this year, and that was kind of the tiebreaker basically for me. Serrano with 3 really good fights. Female fighter of the year, I had to go Alexa Grasso with the upset win over Valentina Shevchenko, and then defending her championship. The submission win we'll talk about in a little bit here, but that was just an all-time MMA moment, and to build off of that and build now into 2023, really, really fun. Fight of the year. For me, the fight of the year, maybe it wasn't the most exciting, but it was just transcendent. I had to go Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. We were finally getting it, the hype, the build-up, and then the fight itself was a whole lot of fun, and it was Terrence Crawford establishing that he was, in my opinion, number 2, pound for pound, in the world, just reaffirming, like, hey, I am that dude. It was just otherworldly watching him do that, and just absolutely amazing. So to me, that fight gets fight of the year. And fight of the year in the MMA side is Volkanovski and Makhachev 1. Again, the top 2 pound for pound fighters went to a decision that is still contested to this day. That gets you the number 1 fight of the year. Knockout of the year, to me, it was Tank Davis knocking out Ryan Garcia. A body shot, he steps back and down he goes. They were billing it as Tank is now the face of boxing. That's not necessarily the case, but still a big win, and a surprise knockout nonetheless. Sidu Sai at PFL. If you haven't seen it, it is a spin heel kick knockout at PFL. It was PFL 6 for 2023. It was so violent that it gets knockout of the year. Submission of the year, it goes along with our female fighter of the year. It's Alexa Grasso with her sub win over Valentina Shevchenko to win the championship. It was, you hear her break it down after, and it was so expertly set up that you have to give this submission of the year. Obviously, there isn't a submission of the year in boxing. Our breakout star of the year in boxing, it's Devin Haney. To a lot of people, he'd already broken out, but this year with the win over Lomachenko, I think broke him out even further into that next stratosphere, and I think he's going to have at least one real big money fight in 2024, so he gets it for me. Breakout fighter in MMA is Ilia Topuria, who, again, like the Grasso broke out, but she was a title challenger already. Topuria has worked into this is the next champion category here at 145 pounds, so he gets breakout star for me. Just a couple of things. Worst event of the year. I brought it up when I did the stuff with the Fresh Take Network. Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis. KSI fought on that card too, and it seemed like that was the tipping point of everyone just kind of being over it with with all of the celebrity fights. That's the word I was looking for. And then also the December 23rd fights with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder both fighting. They're just, A, they're fighting on the same card but not fighting each other. And B, these were 2 of like the mega stars in boxing, and there was zero buzz around that fight. So that gets worst event. Most disappointing fighter on the MMA side was Conor McGregor. All that talk of, I want to fight 4 times a year and all that stuff. Just get out of my face. I'm so over it with Conor McGregor. Well, watch when he fights on International Fight Week, but it's not going to be, oh boy, Conor McGregor. Just kind of done with the guy. Last thing. Breaking news, as Francis Ngannou has a new boxing fight scheduled with Anthony Joshua. There's a number of different ways to look at this. One, this is a massive win for Francis Ngannou. He going up against Anthony Joshua now, as that fight has been made official. I didn't see a date when I went to record, but to have Ngannou against Joshua, to get a second gigantic boxing payday out of this, means like he has undeniably, I thought it was clear after he left the UFC, but he so clearly schooled the UFC in this now, and he is thriving in life outside of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Good for him. So excited for him. From a boxing standpoint, like it's Joshua trying to get back into relevancy with a big name, a big payday out in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Like just fight Wilder and get it over with. The buzz is kind of really worn off of Anthony Joshua, but it's a big name and it's a big test for Deontay Wilder. But if the Wilder, or sorry, I keep saying Wilder, if the Ngannou that showed up against Tyson Fury and the Joshua that showed up the last little while meet each other, Francis Ngannou is going to pull off one of the biggest wins of an MMA fighter going, maybe, or definitely the biggest win of an MMA fighter going into boxing that anyone has ever seen. It is a bit of a bummer for the PFL, who is going into a very important year after purchasing Bellator. Francis Ngannou's big MMA debut was supposed to be the big thing for 2024 for PFL, and now maybe they get it, but either Wilder loses in devastating fashion and a lot of the bloom comes off of the rose, or Wilder wins and is now a superstar in the world of boxing and continues to get high-level boxing fights. It just feels like it's a lose-lose for the PFL. So it's a little bit disappointing for them to kick off 2024 with that news. All right, that is going to do it for part 2 of Fights in Football Friday. Again, if you're looking for the football breakdown, that's over on part 1. You can find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm at Primetime Klein, twitch.tv/PrimetimePK. You can email the show, couchpotatodiary@yahoo.com. For more on the Calgary Flames, I'm going to be on Game Over Calgary Saturday and Sunday. Some early games on both of those for those squads, so check those out. And then I'm going to be on Sportsnet 960 The Fan Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, as I'm going to be back on the mornings from 6 to 9. So thank you all so much for tuning in today, and I'll talk to all of you next week or later this weekend on SDPN. Either way, talk to you guys later.